Today we're going to explore how to repair a ripped image. Now this picture was damaged when it was taken from its photo album. It had been glued in and didn't come off the page all that easily, as you can see. So the first thing we need to do is separate out the two elements. So using a lasso tool, I'm going to cut out this element and then copy and paste it. Paste it, and now I have it on a separate layer. So now we can turn our attention to the base image. First thing I want to do is make the background completely white, or as white as I can make it. So using a adjustment layer, which I find in a second, there, levels, I'm going to find the point where I feel like the background turns white. Now you can see there's a trough there, right there, and I think that's where all the different high level whites all finish, and then the actual image underneath begins. Now I'll crop it just so I have a smaller area to work in for the moment. And now we need to move this piece into place. But first, what I want to do is I want to take it and remove the torn bits of paper, the bits of paper that do not have photographic information on. Because what I'm going to do is go through the math ops, the different ways of blending, and use multiply, which turns it into sort of a transparency. So anything white in the image is transparent and anything black is opaque. So you get like a stained glass effect, and it's very good for lining up. But you can see remnants of the torn image still visible on that edge. So I want to remove those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select and mask. Now select and mask has got some great logic embedded in it. So meaning if I can paint an area or color, it's going to auto-select that whole zone. So you can sort of see it's done a really good job of finding those edges. And if I pull the slider up here, you can see what it's going to knock away with the selection. So if I make a mask layer, that's now cut out really well. Okay, I think that's about as well lined up as it's going to be. Now you can see I've added a little layers adjustment layer there. That's because I think what I did was I adjusted the white point of the base image at the start, and I didn't do that to the small cutout element, so their luminance shifted, which was a mistake. But now that I'm happy, I'm going to turn it back to a strictly grayscale image, crop off the bits of the frame I don't want, and after I'm happy with my adjustments, I'm going to use the remove tool to start working on removing the scratch. And the remove tool's done a great job. You can see I aligned the ripped bit to be more in line with the edge of the table than anything on the right hand side of the rip, because I wanted those lines of the woodwork to line up correctly. Now there's a slight difference in luminance there between on the back of the chair and the guy's arm. So what I'm going to do is quickly adjust that. That was my mistake for not adjusting the images together at the start. So I'm just going to do a little paint fix, adding an adjustment layer, adjusting the luminance, and then painting the wrong thing for a second, working out what I was doing wrong, and then going back in and painting on the mask and just darkening off the image in a few areas. Selecting white to paint the darker areas of the mask, and then flipping to black like I am now, just to take some overpaint off the side I don't want to affect. Now this little area didn't want to clean up automatically, so I've used a little clone tool just to clone one dot from one part of the image to another. Picking the clone tool and setting the density way up, I'm going to select the edge of that chair and then paste that edge over to the edge of this woman's chair where there was a fair bit of damage, and it's just easier to cheat a little. As well as that, I'm going to pick some of the detail from the gentleman's jacket and paint it over to this lady. Sampling different areas of the image for texture. And then using the heel tool brush, I can just smooth some of those areas out to get rid of any brush strokes. Next, I'll adjust the shadows and highlights, particularly seeing if there's any more information in the highlights of this image by dragging up this slider. You can see there's a lot more detail on the page, but also a ton of noise that I'm not interested in. So I'm going to find a midpoint and then paint out any of the worst of the dots. Almost last step, I'll move on to the neural filters and try a bit of photo restore. That's good for just truing up the image, getting rid of some of the noise out of the picture. You can sort of see it was failing on the face. Sometimes it does that, but I don't use the face very often. The face restore, a little bit of a noise suppression. Little scratch removal. I find that's pretty good generally, but it does take away some detail. You can see that little fern on the right, sorry, is gone. So I'll make sure to put this into a new layer and restore things like that little fern leaf that got removed. I think that's about enough for now. I can continue to despot all the fine details, but from where it was to where it is, I'm pretty happy.